Welcome to Bay Area Vista. I'm Janice Edwards, and thank you for joining us. On our show today, Charting the Course. If you think some people have all the luck, well, now you can be one of them. Author Susan RoAne's latest book is How to Create Your Own Luck, with tips from men and women who've netted great careers and love lives. But first today, being laid off as a school teacher became the luckiest break in Susan RoAne's life. Her innovative thinking and people skills led her to launch a successful career as a professional speaker and an author. Her first book was How to Work a Room, and her latest is How to Create Your Own Luck. Her corporate and convention clients include Salomon Smith Barney, Boeing, Citigroup, Procter & Gamble, Hershey Foods, Intel, Keyspan, the National Football League, Oracle, the Wharton School of Business, and more, but we don't have time for all of those. Susan, you're an amazingly busy person because you have great tips for everyone. Welcome and thanks for joining us.
Yes, and since Hershey does do semi-sweet chocolate now, I'm in seventh heaven.
Oh, right.
Yes.
That's great. Well, you know, I started this talking about something that happened to you. You were a school teacher,
yes,
and you were laid off, and with many people who might be facing a layoff or enduring that, and that's an ego blow and a frightening time, not to mention what it does to you financially. How did you manage to turn that around?
Well, first I allowed myself to be angry for about 2 weeks. And the anger sort of fueled a different kind of energy. I mean, I love teaching. I mean, there are children today who know all 8 parts of speech because of me. But I figured once that was over, it was over. And that's when San Francisco Unified laid off 1,200 teachers. And I started a career change workshop for teachers with the intent to help my colleagues who couldn't figure out what to do. Who knew it would turn into this? But sometimes I think when we go to help other people, much like the serendipity I talk about in my book, something else happens. And we have to pay attention to what those messages are, because people will tell us what we're good at. Honestly, Janice,
they'll give you feedback.
And don't ask them for critical feedback, because you'll hear stuff you didn't want to hear in the first place. But say to people, what do you think I'm best at? You'll be surprised.
And you were surprised because this evolved into a career as a professional speaker, and the books with the tips on how to work a room, and now this one with creating your own luck, because I said at the beginning, you can become one of those people. A lot of people will say, I just don't have good luck, or bad things always happen to me. But you have 8 tips, and we might not get through all 8 before the break.
Well,
but
we'll
give a
highlight.
couple.
Well, you know what I noticed when I was doing this book, and everyone would tell me their stories that I'd say, oh, you never know. It was meant to be. It was kismet. It was serendipity. What were the threads of the people that had something wonderful happen? I call them the Rumpelstiltskins, the you never know it all. They took straw, they spun it to gold. And the first one related to how to work a room, and the first one is they talked to strangers. You know, they're standing in line, they're standing at the raceway, they're at the bookstore, they're at the grocery store. They talk to strangers. And a little conversation went in a direction that never would have happened had they not talked to strangers.
And when you say that, of course, you're talking about trusting your instincts. So
Trust your instincts.
Not if you're feeling uncomfortable, but just in general, you're standing in line.
Yeah.
You never know who knows someone, and you have great stories about that. You also have a story about someone who didn't talk to a stranger.
Oh, is that the best? Should I tell it?
Quickly before we go to break.
There was a gentleman who did not talk to the man sitting next to him in first class on an airplane because he was too tired. He'd just done 4 hours of programs. Gets off the airplane. The guy next to him said, are you and Ernie friends? Ernie who? He did not talk to, because he didn't even look up from his book, Ernie Banks, and he had been a lifelong Cub fan. And he said, that day forward, he said he would never, ever sit on a plane and not talk to the people around him, because he missed his time with, I'm from Chicago, Ernie Banks is a god.
Yes, absolutely. That's a good tip. You're going to stay with us. We're going to have more right after the break. So stay with us. We'll talk about how to create your own luck with Susan RoAne. We'll be right back here on Bay Area Vista.